This tape, this cut is for Monday, April the 9th, and will begin in 5 seconds.
This moment in history is a Minority Media production. It comes from a woman who is deeply rooted in Oklahoma's history. She's educator, advisor of the NAACP Youth Council, author of Behold the Walls, writer, director, producer of the movie Brother President, talk show host every Saturday at 2 p.m. on KBYE, state promoter for the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. And now for the moment.
A moment in history today is a moment with an African Methodist Episcopal minister. This minister comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and his name is Reverend B.S. Roberts. Reverend B.S. Roberts, the former advisor of the NAACP Youth Council in Tulsa, and a leader in the 2-year fight for charter change and a city council form of government, will take office as a city councilman on May 8th. How did it happen? Reverend B.S. Roberts understood politics. He understood thoroughly if Tulsa were to be representative of all of its people, then the city charter must be changed, where the councilman could be elected by districts. It is also of historical significance that Roberts, a Democrat, ran from District 1 and defeated Dr. Adolph Williams by a 3-1 margin. Williams, though, we must say, made a respectable showing, considering that in North Tulsa, Democrats outnumber Republicans 9-1. Let us look at Reverend B.S. Roberts. Let us look at the type of platform that he ran on. First, it was a platform of getting rid of drugs in Tulsa, a platform of economic development, of education, and completion of the North Side Expressway. It was not surprising that the religious community joined behind Reverend Roberts because they knew his work, not only in the field of religion, but also in civil rights. He was an appreciative man on Tuesday, and he was happy. He expressed his appreciation to all of the volunteers that worked so faithfully. He thanked Lula Adams, who was in charge of his campaign headquarters. He thanked those people that ran in the primary, gaining new support, getting people to register and vote. And then he expressed his appreciation to Senator Maxine Horner and Don Ross for their endorsement. Roberts was proud of his campaign. He stated that it was a clean campaign that led to a clean victory. I'm a positive man, he stated, and I only dealt with the issues that face District 1. District 1 for candidate number 1. Roberts say he will work with the new council as a whole, but with a special dedicated commitment to District 1. As he stood tall, and he is tall, he stated that the election is now history. But now, as your representative in District 1, I shall work with the entire district. I shall face the problems that exist in Tulsa head on. And I shall work with other commissioners for a better Tulsa. I will make that difference. A moment in history, then, is a moment with Reverend B.S. Roberts, the new city councilman in Tulsa. And tomorrow, I will be telling you about Miss DeWitty, who also won, and Tulsa takes the lead by having 2 black city council persons. Clara Luper reporting.
We hope you've enjoyed your moment in history with Clara Luper. Don't forget, she'll be back tomorrow with another great moment. Minority Media Networking.
This is going to be for Tuesday, April the 10th, and begins in 5 seconds.
This moment in history is a Minority Media production. It comes from a woman who is deeply rooted in Oklahoma's history. She's educator, advisor of the NAACP Youth Council, author of Behold the Walls, writer, director, producer of the movie Brother President, talk show host every Saturday at 2 p.m. on KBYE, state promoter for the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. And now for the moment.
The moment in history today is a moment with a newly elected councilwoman in Tulsa, Oklahoma from District Number 3. Her name, Dorothy M. DeWitty, a young lady who won the councilman's seat out of a vote that was nearly 3-1. In fact, she really took 72% of the vote in District 3. Well, when the results began coming in, the former educator, the well-known teacher's home turned into a campaign headquarters and a victory party. The victory party was because that Dorothy M. DeWitty was able to break the barriers of race, gender, and age. With people like Janet Clee, Carolyn Crump, Pat Thompson, and Preston H. Humphrey, all working long hours in order to show that Tulsa was ready to move into the 21st century with blacks, whites, Hispanics, and others working together. These people, this racial diversified group, worked hard, and the victory was theirs. On May 8th, Dorothy DeWitty will take the office as a councilwoman. At that time, she states that she will move completely out of partisan politics and into vision and action to make Tulsa a better citizen, a better city for all of its citizens. Those are the basic issues. We must articulate these issues over and over. We must become involved in an effective design of policy and guidelines for council functions and operations. We must have cooperative efforts between all council workers. We must continue to involve people, caring people about Tulsa. I conducted a clean campaign with no mud slinging. I am new at politics, but I'm seasoned in education and experience. I want to add some educational political gravy to the first District 3 council member. She was so gracious and so complimentary of Sean Manning, who ran against her. She stated that, I appreciate Mr. Manning's effort. I will seek his support and his involvement. Yes, Dorothy M. DeWitty is a councilman from Tulsa, Oklahoma. She and Reverend B.S. Roberts will be sworn in on May 8th. Clara Luper reporting.
We hope you've enjoyed your moment in history with Clara Luper. Don't forget, she'll be back tomorrow with another great moment. Minority Media Networking.
Okay, this is for Wednesday, April the 11th, and we'll begin in 5 seconds.
This moment in history is a Minority Media production. It comes from a woman who is deeply rooted in Oklahoma's history. She's educator, advisor of the NAACP Youth Council, author of Behold the Walls, writer, director, producer of the movie Brother President, talk show host every Saturday at 2 p.m. on KBYE, state promoter for the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. And now for the moment.
A moment in history is a moment of remembrance. Listen to these words. Lift every voice and sing till the earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty, let our rejoices rise, how high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the faith that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Those words was written by James Weldon Johnson, a well-educated man with exceptional talents. He was a teacher, a writer, a consul, an editor, a poet, and a powerful civil rights activist. He was born in 1871, the second of 3 children in Jacksonville, Florida. His father came from Virginia, and his mother was born in the Bahamas. His mother taught at the city's largest grammar school for blacks, and it was she who inspired Johnson's early interest in music and reading. There were no high schools for blacks in Jacksonville, Florida, so his parents sent him to Atlanta for his secondary and college education. In 1887, Johnson was voted as the outstanding student. While at Atlanta University, he wrote about 30 poems and also delivered the graduation oration in 1894. James Weldon Johnson returned to Jacksonville, Florida, and became principal of the local grammar school, which through his efforts grew to become a high school. While teaching, he studied law and became the first black lawyer admitted to the bar in the state of Florida. James Weldon Johnson left a lasting impression on the cultural and social life of the blacks in America. His writing credits are extensive. In 1902, his song Under the Bamboo Tree sold more than 400,000 copies. He wrote his first novel in 1912, and then he wrote To Lift Every Voice and Sing in 1900, which has become the sounding board for freedom people all over the world. James Weldon Johnson became involved with the NAACP from 1916 to 1930. He investigated brutality toward blacks. He even went to Haiti to investigate charges of great brutality to the native people under the American occupation. He produced facts which changed the history of that country. James Weldon Johnson, his resounding words, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Clara Luper reporting.
We hope you've enjoyed your moment in history with Clara Luper. Don't forget, she'll be back tomorrow with another great moment. Minority Media Networking.
Got it rolling. This next broadcast is for Thursday, April the 12th, and we'll begin in 5 seconds.
This moment in history is a Minority Media production. It comes from a woman who is deeply rooted in Oklahoma's history. She's educator, advisor of the NAACP Youth Council, author of Behold the Walls, writer, director, producer of the movie Brother President, talk show host every Saturday at 2 p.m. on KBYE, state promoter for the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. And now for the moment.
A moment in history is a moment with a fugitive slave. We do not know his last name, but we do know that he was called Abraham, and that he was adopted by the Seminole Indians in 1826. Although he was uneducated, he was a persuasive and gifted speaker. He was a spokesperson for Chief Maconochie during the period when the United States was relocating the Indians from Florida to Oklahoma and Kansas. The Indians called him the prophet the High Chancellor and keeper of the king's conscience. He was born about 1790 as a slave in Florida. He was a man that had a cast in his right eye. No one can find any written information about his parents. But we do know that the Seminole Indians were a collection of many different tribes who banded together in the Florida swamps and provided a sanctuary to hundreds of runaway slaves. Abraham played a key role in both the Seminole Indian War and in their peace negotiations with the United States government. It was said that he ruled all of the councils of the Indians through his influence over the chief. However, his main concern was for the blacks who lived among the Seminoles. Therefore, he opposed and blocked the relocating of the Indians for many years. He feared that while traveling across the Southern Territory, many blacks would be recaptured by their former masters. During the peace negotiation, he wanted a guarantee that his people would not be returned to slavery once they left the Indian sanctuary. In 1826, Abraham went with his chief to Washington, D.C. to negotiate relocation plans. In 1832, as interpreter for the Seminoles, he witnessed the signing of the removal treaty. In 1833, Abraham went with the Seminole delegation to investigate the proposed site of the Indians' new home in Oklahoma. This relocation could not have been possible without Abraham. Yes, the story of Oklahoma and the Seminole Indians must be the story of Abraham, the interpreter, the black man, the man with a cast in his right eye. Clara Luper reporting.
We hope you've enjoyed your moment in history with Clara Luper. Don't forget, she'll be back tomorrow with another great moment. Minority Media Networking.
Okay, this is the last one. This is for Friday the 13th. How about that? Friday the 13th, and we'll begin in 5 seconds.
This moment in history is a Minority Media production. It comes from a woman who is deeply rooted in Oklahoma's history. She's educator, advisor of the NAACP Youth Council, author of Behold the Walls, writer, director, producer of the movie Brother President, talk show host every Saturday at 2 p.m. on KBYE, state promoter for the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant. And now for the moment.
The moment in history today is a moment with Biddy Mason. Have you ever heard of Biddy Mason? Did you know that Biddy Mason was born August the 15th, 1818 in Hancock County, Georgia? She was born to Robert Smith, a master. And as a slave in 1851, Biddy Mason was forced to join her master to head west and to try where he was going to try his luck in the California gold fields. At that time, Biddy Mason was 32 years old. She walked from Georgia to California behind a 300-count ox-drawn wagon train. In the rear, she would walk along the prairies, nearly choking in the dust clouds, herding several hundred cattle and sheep with a long stick. The journey took 6 months, and also the fact that Biddy Mason had to care for 3 daughters. Smith and his slaves stayed in San Bernardino until 1854, and he was afraid that he might lose his valuable property. He decided to take his slaves and family to Texas, but he was stopped for a few days in Los Angeles County. When the local sheriff, Mr. Frank DeWitt, learned that this slave master was taking his slaves from the free state of California into the slave state of Texas, he issued a writ against Smith, preventing them from leaving. And because of this sheriff, on January 19th, 1856, Biddy Mason and her children became free persons. Biddy Mason settled down in Los Angeles and found work as a nurse. She earned $2.50 a day. She worked long, hard hours and managed to accumulate a nest egg of $250. She bought 2 parcels of land in what was considered on the outskirts of town. However, they represent today 2 of the most valuable pieces of property in all of Los Angeles. Biddy Mason had a fine sense for business, and she continued to buy land and to retain it until Los Angeles began to boom. She sold her first 40-foot lot for $12,000 and later sold another one for $44,000. In a matter of a few years, she became a millionaire. Biddy Mason was a humanitarian, always helping those less fortunate than she. She donated land for schools, churches, and hospitals. She paid taxes and expenses on these properties for the sake of her people. She visited the state jails, always leaving a gift with each prisoner. Yes, Biddy Mason will always be remembered. And when she died in January of 1891 at the age of 73, the Los Angeles Times stated that Biddy Mason, a woman who did good works, is dead. Clara Luper reporting.
We hope you've enjoyed your moment in history with Clara Luper. Don't forget, she'll be back tomorrow with another great moment. Minority Media Networking.